You know what you call that? You call that one in a row, baby. Yes, the Phoenix Suns have defeated the San Antonio Spurs and are streaking. Again, they've won one in a row. One in a row, Matthew, for the Phoenix Suns.
Hey,
Nice little
hey,
W there, huh?
yeah, they figured out how to win again. It took them a little while, but they're like, hey, you know what? I think we have it in us, and we'll get this win tonight for the Suns fans. Shout out to the Suns fans. Monday night, good crowd. Find someone you love, bring them to the game. Just have a good time, enjoy the epic ending.
Nice little date night to watch the Phoenix Suns go up big on the San Antonio Spurs and then allow the San Antonio Spurs to march all the way back, tie the game, take us to clutch time minutes, and then CP3 just do what he do. He takes over the game, man. Get back.
Yeah. The Sun get back.
Get back.
Get back to where you want to go. Let's just talk about the Beatles.
Let's talk about the Beatles Get Back on Disney Plus. 8 hours of content. Did you enjoy? No, we can maybe talk about that later. But welcome everybody to the Suns Jam Session podcast. Happy to be coming to you once again following a Phoenix Suns victory. They are now the first team in the league to 20 wins. Although the Golden State Warriors are probably going to win tonight, but you know what? The Suns did it first. 20 wins for the Phoenix Suns, 20-4 after defeating the San Antonio Spurs on their home court by a score of 108-104. So if you're watching along live on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Hit the subscribe button as well. And you can join and become an elite Jamster simply by clicking the join button or following the link in the description. If you're listening to this podcast, wherever you're consuming this content, please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, go to either one of those places and do all the subscribe stuff. That's what we ask of you. And it was a great victory for the Phoenix Suns tonight. So do it for the Suns. I'm popping open a nice Coors Light. The Rockies, according to this beer, are blue. I'm glad that the Rockies are telling me these are blue because if they weren't blue, I wouldn't know that it's cold except by picking it up and feeling the touch. So thank you, Coors, for a dumb marketing campaign. Matthew, what are you drinking with me this evening?
Well, at least it's not cold outside, really. But the Deschutes, dude. I mean, I'm hooked on these.
Nice.
I guess. I don't know.
Which ones are those?
This one is Fresh Haze IPA.
Ooh, the Fresh Haze IPA. That's a good one.
Very, very smooth stuff. So I don't know. First time I've had it this month, and now I can get enough of it.
Wow. I mean, it is the 6th of December, so
kiss
that
December?
beer. Yes, December. We've entered December now.
There you go.
There you go. Well, cheers, Suns fans. Pop them if you got them. Ooh, yeah, crisp. Let's talk about this victory over those motherfucking San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs did all they could do, trying to come back and defeat the Phoenix Suns after beating the Golden State Warriors the day after the Warriors beat the Phoenix Suns. It's so funny to see all of the different comments, especially on the YouTube feed. It's interesting how well the Golden State Warriors fans travel to different YouTube sectors, if you will, because they came and decided to troll our podcast page and like, we don't want to hear about the Suns being tired after a back-to-back and this and that, and Golden State forever and Steph Curry, I love him, like all these little trolls things. And then literally the next night they lose to the San Antonio Spurs. So
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, were the Spurs a little bit more than you expected them to be? I mean, we talked about this team a little bit earlier in the year when the Suns did beat them as a part of that 18-game win streak. And we referenced the fact that this is a young team and, they play in the way that Greg Popovich likes to play. But were you surprised with, A, the fact that they beat the Warriors, and B, the fight that they put up tonight after being down by a pretty substantial amount at one point in this game?
No, not at all. I mean, we've seen this from the Suns all year long when playing these teams, especially the Spurs, right? They fight the Suns. They know their weaknesses in the front line. Sometimes DA will come out and he'll play the game like they're playing the Spurs, and he'll get the 10 points early, and then the rest of the game he's kind of missing a little bit, and then the Suns, they don't seem so interested in it, but they pull it together. They do enough to beat these teams right now. I think they know how much they need to put out there to win these games. And again, like usually this question you ask me, like, were you scared that they're going to lose the game when we're in the close games like this? No, again, I'm not
I didn't
afraid
ask that this time.
I know. It's like the same thing basically, because you're supposed to whoop these teams, and they have been a few times, but this is just, it's such a weird thing where you don't have to worry too much when it comes down to crunch time. It's the same thing almost all the time with this team, and they come through different players. Cam Johnson sucks from 3 all game, hits 2 big threes. Jay Crowder comes in the second half, can't make shit in the first, and it gets 12 points right in the first 6 minutes of the second half. So I think they know what they have. They know how to control these games to get at a certain point to where it's easy for them to finish. It might be a little bit more difficult tonight when the free throws don't go down for CP3 or something like that, but it's always just it's always a Suns game. It always is, man. I'm never too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wasn't necessarily worried about the outcome of this game, but I was interested to see the talent shine for the Spurs, because they're a team that I don't know much about. I mean, I know that they're a team that entered this game with an 8-13 record, which is good for 12th in the Western Conference. They're a team that had lost 6 in a row before winning 4 in a row to meet the Suns tonight. And they're a team that, again, has plenty of young athletic talent that obviously is going to be well coached because of Greg Popovich. But their resiliency tonight is something that I think I was taken off guard by. You have some stellar players there. DeJounte Murray, obviously being the catalyst of that team. He had a great night again tonight. You look at his final line, and he had 17 points on 7-12 shooting, including 2 for 2 from 3. But you just kind of look up and down their box score: 17 points from him, 12 from White, 14 from Pöltl, 13 from Johnson, 14 from McDermott. And they're just a team that, obviously this isn't going to be their season. If they do make it into the play-in game, they're not going to go far because they just don't have the matured talent to progress in the playoffs yet. And although Murray's on his way to becoming a star in this league, he's got a long way to go. He's still a young, raw talent. But they were really resilient in this game, and we saw that especially in the third quarter, where the Phoenix Suns came out and they I think they started on like a 4-0 run to increase that lead to 16 or 15, and then they ripped off a run right back at the Suns and ultimately came back and tied this game. So I'm impressed with the talent that is in San Antonio. I'm like a lot of the Jamsters who are watching along live, and they're just kind of damning the Spurs just because they're a team that we don't like. I mean, it's the Spurs.
Yeah.
We have past scars with this team that we will always hold on to and hold tight. PTSD, post-traumatic Spurs disorder. It's a phrase that we've used here, and that I think Justin from Fan of the Flames coined.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that's real, right?
It is. It's something that I can't stand to watch them. I mean, I think this is the second game we played them this year. It feels like already 5. I get so super annoyed when I see that they're playing the Spurs. It's just something I don't like. But their team, they play smart ball. That towards the end of the game, even EJ pointed out, it's like the Suns expect them to shoot threes to get back in the game. No, they go to the rim. They kept going to the rim, and it's just something that Pop is telling them to do. Chip away at that lead, and they. Compared to a lot of these teams in the clutch time in the last 5 minutes with the Suns, when it's like a 10-point game or even a 5-point game, I just think that this is the closest the team really has gotten, where they just kept chipping and chipping away to where they had a chance at the end really to have a last-second shot. Not a last-second shot, but they're only down by 1 field goal. So, the other teams, we would end up beating by like 10 points by then. But in the last minute, we'd be up by 10 points. DA's celebrating. But the Spurs just play smart ball to where they keep it under control. They don't lose themselves too much and keep themselves in the game. That's the one thing I could take away from them. And they share the ball. McDermott kind of goes off for a little bit, but then they keep sharing it to Pöltl in the middle. So they just keep moving the ball and stuff. So the smart ball is a good thing for that young team. It's going to help them grow. And it's gross to say, but yeah, they do have some nice talent. And, they look like Spurs players. So that's kind of annoying too.
Yeah, Matthew's Spurs players theory, where everyone who plays for San Antonio is just a little ugly, So they're
just a little off. They're a little weedy. I don't know what it is.
Just a little off. But when you look at the way that they play basketball, it's very similar to one Chris Paul. Collectively, they were playing the way that Chris Paul manages this team whenever the Phoenix Suns get down. And it's a luxury that we have this season because they haven't been down very often. But we saw it in the Golden State game in the first half and for the duration of that game, how the Phoenix Suns were getting to the line because Chris Paul knew to push the issue in that game. And it's the same thing that you see when the Suns are down at other times during the season is, listen, if we're down by 7 to 10 points, we don't need to be jacking threes up. We need to, hit high percentage shots, which for, Chris Paul obviously is the mid-range and Devin Booker's the mid-range. And go from there, and then maybe draw some fouls along the way. And they play a more cerebral game. And that's just what happens when you play against the likes of Greg Popovich. It's like, I don't know if you saw any of the Buffalo Bills New England Patriots game tonight, ended 14-10 with the Patriots winning in like a fucking windstorm up there in Buffalo. But it's the same thing. It's like, listen, I think Mac Jones had like 3 total passes the entire game. I mean,
yeah, smart, right?
It's cerebral. It's a cerebral way to play sport. And that's what you get with Bill Belichick, and his comp in the NBA to me is Greg Popovich. Do you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. And the way he just manages games, it's never the prettiest ever, but it gets the job done because look at the Patriots, and I don't want to talk about football too much, but look at them early in the season. They were dead, right? Now they're like one of the best teams in the AFC because they take their time with things. They manage the game so well. It's just, it's like, the goal is to get the win. And no matter how you do it, if you get the win, you get the win. And the Suns are that way too, right? I mean, we come into these podcasts, it's like, it's an ugly win, but it's a win. We're not that team to really blow out every team that sucks. So, I mean, as long as they get the win, dude, that's really all that matters. And that's what the Spurs are trying to do too. Just try to get to the end like they did tonight and try to pull it off against a better team.
Well, and kind of to that point, I mean, that's why the Golden State Warriors, for other reasons outside of simply this fact, due to their success in recent years, but they are the highlight reel team. They are the Steph Curry, they're showing him hit shots from the stands before the games and shit like that. That's why they get all the love and attention. And it's the same thing in the NFL. It's like the Arizona Cardinals are 10-2 and no one gives a shit, but everyone's going to be talking about the Patriots and what a great job Bill Belichick has been doing. It's the curse of the disrespected from a national media standpoint, Suns or Arizona sports teams, the Suns and the Cardinals. And personally, I really don't give a shit. Like, we bring it up obviously on the podcast. We bring it up because it is something that is noticeable because it's happening to us. I bet you if you were to ask another fan base, although I have seen on some of the Reddit threads, people coming into both the Cardinals and the Suns Reddit threads and being like, hey, I'm from like British Columbia and I don't get anything other than ESPN. And they never talk about you guys. Like, they're always talking about the Warriors and the Lakers and what's wrong with the Lakers and this and that. It's like, it's never like, whoa, go Suns. And same thing with the Cardinals. So from the outside looking in, some people are noticing it. It's a no duh why it occurs, because the juicy stories are the ones that around the fan bases that get the most clicks. You're just going to get more clicks around people in Los Angeles because there's just that many more people there. But truthfully, it doesn't bother me. It bothers me. I think it bothers me in the moment when, again, like I'm watching an ESPN broadcast like I was on Friday and just hearing the love fest that's going for the opposing team. It's like, dude, come on, like, give me something neutral here, right? Give me something neutral.
And I was asking my friend today too. I'm like, what is the purpose of really caring about the national media and what they care about your team? Because I mean, the Suns, I mean, it's different. If you're like a band trying to make it, you want the exposure, you want people talking. That way you can sell out the arenas and you can just be the big headliner. But the Suns right now, of course, they sell out the arena. Whenever they go anywhere, the other team fans want to be there and watch them. But it's like, what are we gaining from it? Other than them talking about it, we sit there and we listen. It's like, it's all scripted, mostly a lot of it. And of course, that's why Stephen A doesn't know what Mikal Bridges' real name is. He calls him Michael Bridges,
Michael Bridges,
because they don't watch it. They don't and I don't blame them. It's fine. It's some dude telling them pretty much what to say and all that shit. So you have to worry. I guess you have to worry about that, but I don't worry about it because the Suns don't need that to get to a championship. The goal is to get a championship and win in the finals. You don't need the media to be talking about you. All you need to do is fucking go win games, stay humble, and that's what the Suns do because they don't worry about what the media is saying. And if it did affect them, then it would affect their play on the court. And I'm so glad that the Suns are not that kind of team to where they want to showboat. They want all the commercials. They want all that because the Suns have always been disrespected in that way. DA, the number one pick's not even in the commercial. Devin Booker just now getting Nike commercials. So they're used to it. And it's just like, you know what? We're winning. We're going to get to the finals again and we're going to win it. And we don't need the media. We don't need people talking about us. And they're going to call Mikal Bridges the wrong name again when they're here in Phoenix, Mike Wilbon and Stephen A. in the next final.
Wilbon will get it right. Respect to Wilbon. He'll get it right.
Yeah,
but again, it's almost like, I get your point, and it almost comes to like the whole just purpose of social media, if you will, for some people is some people simply post things on social media for attention. I definitely know some usernames on Twitter who do that. I mean, they'll say the most random shit or just say the most kind of just like, hey, look at me comments because it makes them feel better. And I guess it kind of goes with the national media as well. It's like if you care so much about the national media, it's because you want to feel good about your team. And you know what? If that's what you need to feel good about your team, maybe you don't need to, maybe there's a deeper lying issue, but we'll go into the psychology of that totally later. Let's talk a little bit about this win over the Spurs. The first thing I wanted to bring up to you, Matthew, was the thoughts on Landry Shamet's job spelling Devin Booker. Tonight he went just 7 points, 1 of 1 from deep, 2 of 3 overall from the field, 1 assist, 1 rebound. Prior to this, entering this game, he was averaging 12.5 points. Is Landry Shamet doing a well enough job spelling Devin Booker? I'll just let you answer that question.
Well, I don't think it's really his job to do that. You bring him in for depth. To replace him in the lineup, I mean, to have him replace Booker in the lineup is kind of something different. I actually thought they would go the Cameron Payne way or they would go the Cameron Johnson way because Cameron Johnson, the second half of the first game when Booker got hurt, came in, did such a great job. I mean, it's not like Cameron Johnson has to play what Book plays, but just having that body and some guy that's in there that's a shooter. And I mean, Cam Johnson had a pretty bad game until crunch time. That was fine. But Shamet, it's not his job to do. He's had those games now to where even on national TV, he had a really good game. He'll hit some big threes here and there. That's what he's paid for to do. To really expel Booker, no, not at all. I don't think I've ever really thought about that. I think it's kind of like when Alfred Payton had to fill in for Cameron Payne. I thought it was just enough. He just gave enough there to really just help the team not fall apart, not do too much, not do too little. He's just kind of there. Shamet, it's just, I think when I watch Shamet, I think he gets into his head a lot. Mm-hmm. I think he'll try to shoot himself out of a slump, but you can just tell by like the attitude he puts into releasing the ball. Sometimes it just seems a little bit too forced. It seems like he's not trying to be the way he should be on the court. I don't know. It's a weird way that I'm watching him. I'm just like, this just doesn't seem comfortable. He doesn't seem comfortable there. And it's not a situation that he should be put in, but he is right now. And we all, of course, want Booker to come back, but I don't put any weight on him, on his shoulders at all. I pay attention to what Chris Paul's doing and how he's managing the game, stuff like that.
And I apologize. I only read his third quarter stats. I was sitting there, I'm like, I felt like he shot more. He ended with 11 points, 2 of 9 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep. Got the majority of his points at the free throw line, 6 for 7 from the free throw line. Had 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 personal fouls. So my apologies there. Thomas Dennett says it in the chat. He says, nobody can fill Booker's shoes but Booker. And I think that's a good starting point when you have the Landry Shamet filling Devin Booker's minutes. Conversation is just that. I mean, he's not going to be Devin Booker. The goal is for him to just assist in putting up some points and allowing and the rest of the team picking them up. And, looking at the Warriors game, that was kind of the problem with that game is the bench really didn't show up, really Cameron Payne. And he had a solid game then. He had a solid game tonight. Again, 11 points. He was averaging 12.5 entering tonight as a starter. So, he's doing what he needs to do. But I definitely agree with you when I see that he is having some just forced shots issues. It's almost like, hey, I know I need to take shots because of, kind of what my role is right now in the confines of this offense. So he just takes the shot instead of trying to, do one in the flow. And the big ones that I see are like they'll do a quick inbound pass and he just jacks it up. It doesn't take any time to set his shoulders, square up to the basket. He just like the fadeaway out of bounds 3-point shot off an inbound when there's like 14 seconds left on the shot clock. It's things like that. I feel like those shots are non-productive shots, which lead to non-productive possessions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when I go into a podcast, even like last playoffs when we did it with solar panel, like, all right, Matthew, come on, you got this. And I'll say something like, what was I saying there? Like, come on, you have notes right in front of you. You can't even read your own notes. It's kind of like that. That's the way he's shooting the ball right now. And I don't know, man. Last game, I talked about with Coach Evan B, and we were talking about how, Shamet, the way he moves across the lane just to release like a mid-range shot. It looks so difficult, and then you have Booker doing it where it's just so easy
smooth.
Peasy. You just see the difference, and that's why you can't fill his shoes.
And again, he's definitely being productive, and all this is going to do is assist with him gaining more confidence when Booker does come back, because he does know, hey, I can shoot like shit. I can go 2 for 9, and Monty's not going to ride my ass or anything. My team can still win, so it allows him opportunity to gain confidence. Now, obviously, he was, he put in how many minutes tonight? Like 25? Yeah, 25 minutes tonight. But it was Cameron Johnson who really started to shine in those minutes vacated by Devin Booker, I feel.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Yeah, Cam, there were some lineups out there where it was Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, DA, and Cam Johnson. And I thought that was a good lineup because, Jay's your 4, DA's your 5, and then you have Mikal and Cam kind of switching between the 2 and the 3. Obviously on defense, they're extremely switchable, but it allowed them to be a little bit more flexible on offense. And that's kind of the lineup that really started to, when the Suns were down in the second quarter, brought them back into it. I mean, you have to go all the way back to the first half when the Suns were actually down 11 in this game. And that was the lineup that Monty deployed that allowed them to be productive and move forward. And I think that, you look at Coach Fallen Founder in the chat, he says, start Johnson and move Mikal to the 2 and run him more plays. And you saw a lot of that tonight, and it was productive. So, I don't know if I'd go all the way to say start Johnson over Landry Shamet. But I do think that it's an interesting, again, start Landry to see how he starts, the first 6 to 7 minutes of the game. If he's feeling it, he catches one of those Enfuego nights and you're going to get 30 from him, which is completely possible. You stick with that hand. But this is a nice adjustment that Monty Williams made in the second quarter and went back to multiple times where he had Johnson playing the 3 and Mikal playing the 2 in Devin Booker's absence.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I want him to, of course, to be the guy. I just mentioned it right before this, where I would like to see him as a starter. It's positionless basketball, really. You're going to get like the most talent, I feel like, from your starting lineup. And Cam could just do much more, I feel like, than Shamet. Shamet can't, if you ever watch him try to drive, it's just not very pretty, right? And Cam Johnson's not too much better, but he does have it in him to where he tries and he does hustle. His shot, of course, wasn't falling early in the game, but then he catches on. He's always at the end of the game, right? He's always in the last 5 minutes. He's always on the floor. He's never afraid to take the shot. Him taking it to the rim when his 3 wasn't falling was beautiful. That's just like, that's where he is right now. I'm like, where is he at in his career as of right now? I think that he's sitting there in a position to where he's teeter-tottering, maybe a starting position, but I really love him coming off the bench. But also he's just used in many, many different ways. The bench gets into it when he takes it to the rim. Like, they know how powerful he can be. He falls awkwardly sometimes, so it kind of scares me. But that pass to DA where he wrapped it around 2 Spurs players where he got away with it, and DA, that was the play of the game, because the Spurs steal that, it might be a different story. So he has those things where he can kind of get away with things, and then sometimes he doesn't. So then you got to kind of watch that. So he's overly confident from anywhere on the floor, whether he's passing it, whether he's shooting the corner 3, whether he's bringing the ball up, or he steals the ball and has a fast break, gets the and 1, plays like that. So he's pretty much everywhere right now on the court. There's not a really definitive answer to what he is. And if he were to start in the lineup, like you said, he would play like the 3. I don't know. He's such a random player that just hustles and you just love to see out there. So yeah, starting would be awesome, but as long as he's out there to finish the game, that's all I care about.
Well, exactly. It's the minutes at the end of the game that matter. And, you talk about getting away with whatever, certain things. He got away with 5 of 14 shooting tonight. I mean, he scored 13 total points, 2 of 7 from deep. Those 2 obviously came in crutch time moments. In the crutch, did I say crutch?
I say clutch. I say crutch.
It's like
clutch.
crunch time and
crunch
and clutch, but it's clutch time moments. That's when he hit his 2 threes, massive threes. And then, as you mentioned, he made that assist to DeAndre Ayton. So, you'll go back and you'll forget the fact that in the first half, he was only 3 of 9 from the field and 0 for 3 from deep. And, although, the thing that you saw tonight, and we continue to kind of harp on this throughout the season, is he's really forcing the issue by attacking the rim, right? Like, he is taking the shots. And James Jones was on the broadcast with Eddie Johnson tonight, and they were kind of talking about just that, how, there's this moment where Cam Johnson realizes he's a shooter and the defenders are playing him off the 3-point line, but he refused to kind of come off of the 3-point line. And now he's kind of understood that, and he's trying to find that balance. That's the key. Trying to find the balance between when I need to take those threes and when I need to attack. And as you see him do it more, I really think that he's fine-tuning that balance, because I feel like he's taking great shots, not always going in, or he's attacking the rim at the appropriate time, especially when the Suns are needed and they're down in the game, because he's ultimately the one who put the Suns ahead in the second quarter when they made the run coming back, and they never relinquished that lead. They got tied, but they never relinquished it.
Yeah, and it's a flow, too. It's a flow of which he does it, because he has to make the decision before he gets the ball if he's going to go to the rim or not. And that's kind of what DA's doing right now, to where he's kind of more in the flow of the offense, what to do with the ball when he gets it. That's the same thing. Cam has to make those decisions really, really early. So I think he's getting a little bit better at it, but you can still see like he's just a little bit hesitant with things sometimes when he wants to take it to the rim.
Exactly. He's still trying to learn how to navigate that space and be confident in it. But again, I mean, the fact that he's even doing that, just it makes me happy to see that he's more than a one-dimensional player who just shoots a 3. He's a multi-dimensional offensive player who can play some physical defense and gets himself to the line as well. So I think that's definitely of note. One thing I see a lot of Jamsters are talking about this in the chat. So I'll Felix brings up, he says, Wainwright is a beast, talking about Ish. And then Hey.0 replies, Wainwright is trash. And it's and then one of our lead Jamsters, Jay Schneck, says Wainwright is a D-League player at best. So, I'll let me ask you this question. Why does Ish get minutes that could be allocated to Jalen Smith?
I don't know. This is going to be a question for the next 10 years when Jalen Smith is still in the Suns, and we're just asking, like, hey, how come he had like the one game where he played 30 minutes and he scored like he was 15 and 10, just a really solid game, and he doesn't play for another month? There's just something going on behind the scenes. It has to do with the trades or something, dude, because it's fun. It's really, when the Suns are winning, it's fun to have him out there. It's like a Pat Burke. It's fun to hustle. Pat Burke wasn't a hustle, but I just mean like Ish is just a hustle, big body, someone to annoy on defense. But other than that, you're not going to get a lot. I mean, you're not going to expect him to score anything. So I would rather see Jalen out there. But right now, it's just so weird to see Jalen Smith come back out there. He even knows when he's on the court how weird it is that maybe he shouldn't even be on the court. So it's just very awkward situation between that and playing Ish, because it's always going to be like, how come Sticks? Sticks is like, why? The questionable minutes is always, why is Sticks not getting minutes? It's always a question, always.
Did you see when Wainwright got his ankles broken by Bryn Forbes? Oh, he crossed him over and Wainwright went down. It's like Daniel Solomon says in the chat, Wainwright or like Wayne Wrong. He was Wayne Wrong on that play.
Yeah.
And Tim Tompkins answers that question. He's like, because Smith is trash. And, it's interesting because have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? I was thinking about this today.
Yeah,
okay,
it's your movie, man.
Yeah, it's my movie. I love watching it every year. Like, Jimmy Stewart.
It's one movie you cry. One time you cry a year, right?
It's like one cry. I bawl at the end of that movie every time. Like, I can't help. It's like when his brother Harry comes in, it's just like, bam. So I watch that movie alone. Everyone leave me the fuck alone, especially the lissies, because none of you guys have emotions, so you can't deal with like
I'm the biggest crybaby ever. Are you kidding
a human being crying. But I was thinking about it, and the whole premise of the movie is Jimmy Stewart's character, George Bailey is, he doesn't feel like he's worth it, right? Like, he wants to commit suicide ultimately, and his angel stops him. And the whole lesson of the movie is you're worth more alive than you are dead. And trust me, I have a point here. I think about Jalen Smith, And I think that he's more valuable right now not playing than playing. Because if the Suns want to utilize him as an asset, clearly they know that there's something wrong with him. He played great in Summer League, and we talked about that. He played great in the preseason. We talked about that. But still, they do not allocate any minutes for him. Abdel Nader was getting minutes. Abdel Nader goes down. It's Ish Wainwright, who is a former tight end for the University of Baylor, has been playing overseas all this time. He's 27 years old. They're giving him minutes. As Eddie is talking about on the broadcast, he's like, well, he's getting all these minutes because he works so hard and he's earned them. It's like, I mean, what does that say about Jalen Smith? And then I'm like, oh, Jalen Smith, if you don't show the league what he's about, you can still hang the fact that he is a lottery pick if you need to trade him as an asset. So like George Bailey, he's worth more. Just not playing him. He's worth more. Not like George Bailey. He's worth more dead than alive. You get my point, right?
I did get your point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right. But it's weird because we noticed that. So like they notice the other teams, like they're not playing him for a reason, but he is a lottery pick, and maybe we can build on him. It's like the Suns in the past would get a player like Sticks, be like, oh, but he was a lottery pick, and there's potential there. Like it would be exciting, and then that's what some other team might get if we do make a trade.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they have. That's what they have to. Yeah, Coach Fallen founder Jalen Smith more valuable dead than alive. So confirmed. LOL.
No.
Damn, it's not what I'm saying, but you get what I'm saying. Like
I know. I was just kidding.
He's more valuable on the bench than he is actually on the court, trying to provide these developmental minutes for him. Because again, Ish Wainwright's getting crossed over by Bryn Forbes and falling on his ass, and it's still going to go ahead and get minutes. Because, he's not a former lottery pick. You're not going to do anything with him. He's not a valuable asset to anyone but the Suns. But Jalen Smith could be if they trade for the likes of, I don't know, Thaddeus Young. I mean, that conversation is obviously whenever you play the Spurs, that conversation comes back up. I actually have an article coming out on Bright Side of the Sun either tomorrow or the next day talking about, hey, should we kick the tires on this idea? Because as we've seen injuries start to make themselves present on the Phoenix Suns, not really like last year, we have to explore these options. And Thaddeus Young, although he didn't look too great tonight, though, did he?
No, but it's I see it in him. I see what the Suns might want in him. He's always just around the ball, under the boards, and he's just always in the right spot, it seems like, but nothing's really flowing for him because I feel like he's separate from what the Spurs are trying to do right now, and that's just playing Spurs ball. I think Thaddeus is trying to prove himself individually, so it's not going to look great. It's not going to look good at all. So I know what Thaddeus can give to the Suns, and I just think that if it's a trade for him, you're not going to see this kind of Thaddeus. I think you're going to see more of a hustle, more of a team guy, because he's going to be in an environment that he wants to be in. So that's all the change is going to be to get him to play the way that we think he can play. And that's why Suns fans want him. And I feel like that's the way the Suns are going to go. And I don't know, Flex did say right up to the trade deadline, like this thing is pretty much going to happen. Maybe, I mean, he said before the season, Thaddeus Young, but then he also said it might take till the trade deadline, right? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to confirm that.
Which makes sense because Thaddeus Young came over in the trade for DeMar DeRozan. So the Spurs have an asset worth $14 million that expires at the end of the year. I mean, he's an unrestricted free agent next year. So there's a timetable on the leverage that they have. But currently, until the trade deadline, they do have the leverage because, one, they want to see if he can fit within who the Spurs system is or are, whatever the right word is there. Two, they know that a lot of teams, as they near the trade deadline, are going to be interested and they want to kind of take all offers. They're not going to take the first offer that the Phoenix Suns give them for Jalen Smith and Dario Saric when they know that at the trade deadline, you're going to get more traction for a role player like Thaddeus Young. So I think the reason that he had a rough night tonight, 1 for 4 from the field, 2 overall points, is because he was really just playing out of position. If he plays for the Phoenix Suns, he's going to come in as a backup 4. He's not going to have to go up against the likes of Javale McGee. And that's what happened tonight. I mean, he ran into JaVale McGee, who especially in that first half was an unbelievable beast, man. I mean, overall in the game, he was 5 for 7 from the field with 13 points. And if you look at the first half, that's where all the damage happened. You know, he was 4 for 6 in the first half with 10 of his points. And a lot of those came with Thaddeus Young on him because he's such a towering individual who takes up so much space. Whereas Thad Young, although he takes up space, is only 6'8". Like, he's your ideal backup 4.
Yeah, and McGee tonight, I just think that even not tonight, he had like one off game. I think last game, it's like McGee never has an off night, but he shows it in spurts, right? The energy is always there at the right time, the right moment when the Suns need it, when no one else is really doing what they're supposed to be doing. McGee comes in and he plays with the high energy that brings the Suns back. But are his minutes trickling down a little bit? I know he does take advantage of the mismatches and all that, but like the last few games, even against the Warriors, like he had like the 8 minutes, and the Suns were trying to maybe play what the Warriors had on the floor, play against that. So I don't know if the Suns are trying to match that or whatever, but I want to see more McGee. Maybe he's just taking a little break. It's been a long win streak, you know what I mean? Maybe he's a little exhausted, but I don't think it has anything to do against the matchups, right? I think it has to do with just maybe him getting a little bit more rest. And if the Suns going to figure this thing without him, then that's good for him because of the rest. But I want to see more of McGee because of the energy he does give all the time. It's a nonstop thing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this game, he was averaging 15.6 points minutes per night, and tonight he had 12.3. So to your point, maybe the Suns are kind of pulling him back a little bit, and you see that because Monty's experimenting with some more of those small ball lineups because you can. Because again, if Thaddeus Young is playing the 5 for the Spurs and he's 6'8", well, guess what? That means you can throw a little bit of those small ball lineups out there and try to, just try something different that maybe they unlock something. They're like, hey, we need to come back to that when we play this team again, or in playoff time, or against the Clippers or another small team. So it's kind of this beautiful double-edged sword that you have where you can rest McGee a little bit. Although to your point, like, yes, we would definitely like to see McGee as much as possible because of the energy he brings, but maybe that energy starts to become diminished in the second half when we start to see a little bit more on the foul front from him. But again, I mean, he plays it with such fun and intensity, does a couple goofy things out there every night, but looked great against the Spurs tonight. I mean, he owned Thaddeus Young, and I wasn't on Twitter too much tonight, but I'm interested to see kind of what some of the reaction was, because there's so many people who are behind Thaddeus Young, myself included. I think that he's somebody who would be definitely welcomed on this team, especially if you're getting rid of a distressed asset in Jalen Smith and a hurt one in Dario Saric. Coach Fallen Founder brings up Thaddeus Young is right now averaging a clear low in minutes with a career high shooting percentage. I mean, so
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's nothing to worry about. I don't think at all, right?
Yeah, no. And I'll tell you another guy who I did not worry about at all tonight, although he did miss some bunnies.
Watch.
Deandre Ayton. He ended the night. Let's see, what did he do? 14 points, 9 rebounds, 35 minutes played, and so. You really thought, especially as the game started, I mean, he had 8 of the Suns' first 12 points.
Yes.
I mean, he came out just hitting everything. The Suns were feeding him, and it just goes to show you that, especially with Devin Booker. I mean, this is my issue with Ayton, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the time for Ayton to shine. This is the time for the Phoenix Suns to go, you know what? We don't have Devin Booker to open games and close games, because let's face it, that's what D-Book does. He's not really your second, third quarter scorer. He's your first quarter and your fourth quarter. So I kind of felt like that what was happening tonight. And what's happened over the past couple games is feed DA early. Let's go ahead and allow him to establish himself, perhaps get the opposition in foul trouble, but get those points early, because you need those points ultimately. So you have to replace the points that Devin Booker was providing to the team, which is 23 points a game if you're doing the money ball analytic thing. And again, same thing kind of happened tonight, and that's the difference between D-Book and DeAndre Ayton is Devin Booker cannot shoot the ball for 2 quarters, come back and just light it up. DeAndre Ayton looked lost at times in this game, man. It was like the return of the Butterfingers tonight, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're I was talking about Cam, where were we at in his career? So DA, I know he's a totally different positional guy than Booker, but is there going to be a time where he's just in a flow? He has his offense set to where when he gets the ball, he has his moves, he has his positioning, he has like his spots. I feel like he should have that now, to where, Booker is wherever he gets to his spots, he does what he does. And he might miss them. He'll make most of them, but he might miss them. And DA will miss them, but still, like, the releases on a lot of his like jump hooks and stuff, really rushed and just weird. You still got a lot of those really funky, just like forced shots, and then he'll throw his hands like together and be like, "Ah, damn it!" But then I don't even believe that. I don't believe that's real. I think it's just like, oh, like, I did miss it, but I don't know. There has to be some kind of flow. His offense needs to start making more sense. It has to make more sense with the Suns. And I don't mean he has to put up big numbers. I'm just saying you have to know as a fan what you're going to expect, where DA is going to be, what he can do for this offense. Whether or not he makes it, I don't care. But it's just so random every night. The energy is so random every night. I'm getting kind of sick of seeing that. I'm not complaining about he's a phenomenal player and the energy isn't there for every player every night. But we know what to expect from Mikal, even Cameron Johnson, even Chris Paul, of course, Devin Booker, Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder even has a new mid-range game he's trying to prove to everybody. So it's just so weird to watch DA sometimes because you don't know what to expect. And it's like, how much longer are we going to go through that? You know what I mean? On offense, where it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's funny because at the back end of the 18-game win streak, we were both praising DA because of the rhythm of the game and the way that he attacked on offense, right? There were possessions where, he kind of instinctively knew, okay, I need to hold the ball high, wait a couple seconds, let the defense recover behind itself because they're not going to double me on this one, and then I'm going to go to task. Or I need to catch this real quick, turn and shoot because I know that the double team's coming. And, a couple things that I saw tonight are contradictory to that. And this kind of fortifies your point of like the inconsistencies, what drives you crazy about DA at times, is exactly tonight is, he get the ball and he just shoot it real quick. No double teams are coming. He's got the time. He's got Jakob Pöltl on him. So he's got time to do it, and Jakob, shout out to Jakob Pöltl. I mean, he played a great game. He's a physical defender. He's somebody who gets in DA space, and he's just one of those guys who you can tell is somebody who does bother DA when he plays against him. But at the same time, like, he would rush his shots, especially at the end of the game, and then multiple times, and this is what drives me crazy about DA sometimes, man, he's not looking to score at all. So when the team finds him, he's not ready for it. And, he either fumbles it away or keeps the ball down. And that's when the swats come. The pass from Cameron Johnson to DA, he did not expect that shit at all, but he was so wide open, he couldn't fuck it up. There was no one there to swat at. He's like, oh shit, I got the ball. Let me dunk this thing. And you can feel him thinking on those possessions. And that kind of fortifies what you're saying. It's like, we don't consistently know what we're going to get from DA. And to Tim Tompkins' point in the chat, he says, love having a number one pick the Suns never go to in crunch because they don't know necessarily that they can. And Hey.0 says, I love DA's defense, but he needs to learn to be ready to catch for the ball. And I feel like when CP3's out there, he's conditioned to be ready to catch the ball. But you can see, and maybe I'm misreading this moment, but there was a pass in there where CP3 turned into Cam Newton. And he drove to the right. He was kind of jumping out of bounds. DA standing around to the basket. He just fucking chucked it at him. And DA wasn't ready for it. And DA dropped the ball and turned into a turnover. And that's kind of one of those. It's like one of those moments. The old Peyton Manning Saturday Night Live skit when he drops back and he's playing with the little kids. He's like, all right, and he just fucking starts pelting them in the back of the head. It's like if you're open, I'm going to throw you the ball. And if you're not ready, I'm still going to throw you the ball and hit you with it hard. And that was almost like that CP3 moment where he's like, dude, like fucking be ready for this because it was like the fourth time he had dropped a pass where it's hit him in the hands. And, there's only one pass that I feel like was below his knees. Everything else was like kind of hitting him in the hands in transition, him cutting when he should be ready, or he's running towards the basket. Mikal Bridges is running to go for a layup. He realizes the defense is going to focus on him, so he passes DA, and DA's too busy looking up at the rim, doesn't realize that the ball's going to come his way. It's that inconsistency that really just kind of, obviously frustrates a lot of our jamsters as well because they're
that makes sense. We should know what to expect from DA now. It's just I'm getting sick of this. I know he shows up at crunch time. He had a big block. He has big rebounds. He does what he needs to do when it needs to happen. But it's just throughout the whole game. Like we don't ever say this about any other player. I don't get it. I don't understand. And like CP3 always says, I'm always on him all game long. I'm on his ass. He deserves the money, all that shit. He even said it this year. Like, I'm always on him. Last interview he was on with ESPN or something.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so why
At
don't
what
you know?
point-
Why don't you know what you should be doing? Like, is the offense changing that often? Is this like a 1,000-page book for the Indianapolis Colts when Peyton Manning was a president and the actual quarterback? I don't understand like what he's watching, what he's learning in this offense to where it's still so difficult on a pick and roll to where to go and just know when to catch the ball and be ready. Just be ready.
Well, yeah, and again, at what point do you
Good
have
game,
to
though.
stop? Does CP have to stop yelling at him? And,
Yeah, I
and
know.
again,
I'm just saying.
here
and
we
it is their
are.
second year, but
Here we are ragging on DA after a victory. Typical Suns fans. But again, we've seen his great moments. We know what he can be, and he's had a lot more great moments than he's had bad moments. But I just feel like this was an opportunity to really shine again tonight. And he started off great, and he just kind of petered away. And when that happens, it's just disappointing because he's our number one pick, because we want him to play out of his mind and to just fortify the love that we have for him. One thing I wanted to bring up, Jay and Mikal, they have an invisible floaties thing. Did you know about this? Well, how did I fucking miss this? So what they do is after they make like a mid-range floaty shot, they kind of act like they put on invisible floaties. Eddie mentioned it on the broadcast. I'm like, how am I just now learning about this?
I never noticed that, man. Yeah, I never noticed. But Jay, really quick before I forget, Jay Crowder, he was like the free throw line kind of like he was putting on a show or something. Every time he was at the free throw line or standing there while someone else was shooting, the camera was always on him. He always had a look on his face like he knew everyone was watching, and he's just like laughing. Like he had some antics tonight at the free throw line. I don't know. I guess he's always that way, but I noticed
after he missed one.
Sure.
After he missed one, he acted like he was just going to chuck it against the backboard.
Yeah, but like every time anyone was shooting a free throw, they'd go on Jay. He's like, yeah, and he's like smiling, and he's not smiling, and he's funny, man.
He was having a good time, man. He was having a good time, and you know what? His third quarter is what really propelled the Suns to that lead that they had. Ultimately, they gave it up in the third quarter. But you look at what he did. He had 13 points on 5 of 8 shooting, including 2 of 4 from deep in the third. I mean, Jay Crowder was a beast tonight. His final stat line was 19 points on 7 of 14 shooting. And again, when we talk about Devin Booker being out, you need people like Jay Crowder, like Cameron Johnson, like Ish Wainwright, like Landry Shamet to like step up and provide those points in his stead. So a solid performance by him tonight, a solid performance by Mikal Bridges. He had 9 rebounds tonight, which is his season high. Only 6 points tonight, but had those 9 rebounds, a lot more active on the glass.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure I was correct.
Okay.
Real quick before we hand out the jam star. Wow, it's already 47 minutes in.
Yeah, I know.
Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? Jakob Pöltl. How do you say Pöltl? Like, it does not spell Pöltl. That is like the most annoying lesson. The reason I never got into hockey is as a young child growing up in Los Angeles, you had the LA Kings, right? You had Wayne Gretzky on those hockey teams. But one and like I played roller hockey and stuff like on the playgrounds in Sepulveda, California. There I was, But I can never say any of their last names because everyone in hockey is like Pöltl. It's like a bunch of consonants with 2 vowels in there, and I had no idea how to say it. It's Jakob Pöltl, but spelled like Jakob Pöltl. I just
when we did the game preview, I think the first game you said like Pöltl or something, but it's like we played against them before. We know it's Pöltl, but then when you're reading it off, it's like Pöltl. We forget.
Yeah, I don't get it, and again, that's why I'm not a hockey fan. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
Jam Star of the Game.
This is a reminder, if you're listening, to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're watching along live on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Hit that subscribe button and become an Elite Jamster simply by pressing the join button or following the link in the description. Matthew, I'll let you go first. Who's your jam star of the game?
It's going to be Jay Crowder for sure. I mean, he did lead the team, or second in the team, I'm sorry, with 19 points. But his threes in the clutch were really, really big. I just think he started the game the way he did and coming in and scored 12 points right away in the second half. It was just something to give the Suns a boost. I know the Spurs came back, but that was what gave the Suns that big lead, the big cushion to where they can let the Spurs come back and then they would take the lead again. but his antics at the free throw line, I'm telling you, it was his own show out there. He was just messing around with everybody, like even like the Spurs players, and like holding the ball and like not letting them touch it. Like it's like his little, he should have his own little segment at the free throw line or something, because that's what made me write down Jam Star. I was like, oh, nice threes you made, Jay, but you were hilarious too at the free throw line.
I'm going to give mine to CP3. Definitely a solid fourth quarter. He ends the night with 21 points and 10 assists, 9 of 18 from the field. But you look at what he did in the fourth quarter, where he scored 10 points and had 2 assists. And you look at kind of how the Suns operated the clutch time. So I actually tracked this tonight. Once we hit clutch time, which is 5 minutes left and 2 teams within 5 points of each other, you had CP3 went 3 for 5, had that amazing block on DeJounte Murray, and went 1 for 3 on the free throw line, missing the last 2 of the game. You had Jay Crowder, who forced a turnover, got a technical foul. Ayton was 2 for 2 in crunch time, and Cam Johnson was 2 for 2 with the amazing assist to DeAndre Ayton, and both of his field goals being 3-pointers. And then the team defense was just absolutely fantastic in the last 5 minutes. I think that's what really won the game for us. But I am going to go with CP3. I think that, a guy who is at his age, using his cerebral attack to this game, is ultimately what put the Suns over the top. Was this game in doubt? No, I really don't think it was, because you have Chris Paul. That's the why. And even with Devin Booker out, and the Phoenix Suns are going to have the opposition really key in on CP3 now. That's one of the things we talked about during the winning streak. When you have CP3 and Devin Booker in the clutch moments, like, it's really hard for the defense to try to take away both of them, let alone one. When you have just one of them out there, they can key in on him, and he still navigated it. So kind of going down the list, Coach Fallen Founder gives it to JaVale. Coach JJM, give it to Doug McDermott. Fuck it, why not? CP3 for the block jam play of the game from Nathaniel.
That was sick, man.
That was sick, man.
Yeah,
Ted Lubin, CP3 equals jam star. Bossman 99 from Fabio. McGee from Walter Lazo. CP from Hayden, Hay.0. Bossman, CP3, and McGee. Definitely a lot of worthy nominees tonight. So, fuck it. We'll give it to everybody. What a win. What a win.
Oh, yeah, Jay's technical, I thought it was hilarious. Suns were still going to win.
Yeah, it was just like,
the technical I love.
It was such an
hard
interesting,
to hate him, man.
It was such an interesting spot for a technical foul to occur.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Before we get into the preview, I do want to remind everybody that this show is sponsored by Just Sports.
The Suns Jam Session podcast is brought to you by Just Sports. Enter the code SUNSJAM at checkout for any of your online orders and receive 15% off of your purchase. That's right. Let them know that the Suns Jam Session guy sent you. Again, that is promo code SUNSJAM when checking out at shopjustsports.com.
And I got to say, man, I was in Just Sports the other day, and they got a lot of fresh new Suns gear for Christmas. So now's the time.
Okay.
They do. They
All
got
right.
some really cool shit.
There's some good hat selections, even like a hat club and stuff. There's a lot of hats now for the Suns. So I got to get a new one for the pod.
I was at Chandler Mall the other day, and like Hat Club changed their logo, and it's like very refined. Like the font is just like a Times New Roman or something. It's just like Hat Club.
Simple. It's all simple now. Yeah.
Simple, elegant.
People like the simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Too much stuff going on.
Amen. All right. Suns versus Celtics preview. That's going to be Friday night. So we have like a whole week almost without Suns basketball. This is weird, man. Very weird. But tell me what you think of the 2021-22 version of the Boston Celtics.
Well, Jalen Smith, Jaylen Brown, it's definitely something I never thought would ever work out. It kind of looks like that's what's going on. The Celtics, it's so weird how like just such a short time ago they were on their way to winning a title, and now they just don't even know what the hell to do with their roster. So it's kind of up in the air. They're the most mediocre team I think I've ever seen play. One night Jason Tatum looks like an all-star, and then honestly the next game he'll just be shit. The team will be shit. They don't have any effort like most of the time. So it's a weird thing that's going on over there. I mean, I can read off the stats, but just my gut feeling really is that team with Jaylen Brown, Jalen Smith, or Jason Tatum. Did I say Jalen Smith in the beginning? I might have. Jason Tatum.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
those two, when you have wings like that want to be the star of the team, that's difficult to do. You got to do it like the Suns, where you have Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges that really complement each other a lot, especially Jay Crowder. That's the right way to fill up that wing position. I just think what the Celtics are doing with their roster right now just gives the Suns not an easy win, but you just know that they're a better team heading into this game.
Well, they're the better team entering this game, and they're also not going to be in a good spot necessarily to beat the Suns, because you look at their schedule this week. They play at the Lakers tomorrow, and then they follow that up at the Clippers the following day. They have an off day, then they play the Suns. So they're making their southwestern swing through the country right now. And I think that, yeah, they are a team that is what makes Phoenix such a good team is they know exactly who they are. They have an identity in all aspects of the game. Their first team does, their second team does. They know who they are in the clutch time. Whereas, to your point, the Boston Celtics just don't know who they are. I mean, you have Jason Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown. Both are not really alphas. Both would prefer to be betas, but both have to play alphas at time. Now, that being said, Jaylen Brown, he's been out for, God, I feel like a while. He has a hamstring issue, a la Devin Booker. Hasn't really played a bunch this season. He's played only in 13 games. He did play on the first, so he did come back from his hamstring issue, but now he's been out the past 2 games with the hamstring issue. So obviously one of their stars is out, and to your point, Jason Tatum. Again, you talk about Deandre Ayton being the number one pick, not even getting a Nike commercial. Then you have like Jason Tatum, who gets like all the Nike commercials, all the Gatorade commercials, and you just don't even know if he's like the anointed one by the NBA.
Too early, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like he scores, right? Like he's averaging 25.2 points per game, but he does it on 21.7 shots. So he's just like a highly inefficient player. He's somebody who definitely needs, he's a guy like Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's a guy who puts up a ton of numbers because he gets a ton of attempts. And you put this guy on like a team, and to your point, I mean, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals twice right after acquiring him via the draft. But he just, I don't know. I've never been a huge Jason Tatum guy, and part of that is probably because the media, which we shouldn't care about, as we discussed earlier, shoves these guys down our throat, right? So, I mean, it's a win for the Suns.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say it's a win. Someone actually put in the chat really quick. The Suns, whatever they ever won again, we got Kendall Jenner, dude. And Booker is handling that relationship very, very well. So that's a win right there.
Well, whenever people ask that question, like, what have they ever won again? My question is, are we talking about this season and we're talking about, what's in front of us, or are we just going to live in the past all the time and have to hang our hats on championships from and Phoenix Suns runs from years ago? Mm-hmm. It's like talking to a Cowboys fan or I'm just kidding. You never do that.
I hate the Cowboys.
But it's like the It's like Ohio State. Like Ohio State lost to Michigan 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, all my Ohio State friends start rattling off all these statistics of everything that's happened in their history. And like, that's great. Did you beat Michigan this year? Like, we're talking about literally what happened. So it's just an interesting reflex that some people have. It's when your team's doing well, they feel that you've never won anything. Oh, fuck me, you're right. We've never won anything. Welp. Chris Stanley's just like, no. How many champions have we won ever? None. I guess I shouldn't ever root for this team because they've never won a championship. You're right. I'll wait till they win a championship, and then I'll start cheering for them. So, thanks for stopping by the pod, brother. I can't stand that mode of thinking. I'm a Notre Dame fan. You never hear me talking about 1988 or, all the 11 national championships we've won, because guess what? We're talking about this season and what's going on right now. So, again, that's just an interesting reflex that some people have. So. Oh, he said later, losers. Dang it, man. And his picture holding his symbols looks so cool on YouTube. Good for Chris Stanley. You know what? Do you know what that guy needs to do?
Terrible. Take a lap.
Just take a lap, dude. Just take a lap. Go to another podcast and troll them. Have a good time. Have a good time.
Wanna go.
Get back, yeah. So, I mean, we got the last couple minutes of the pod. What do you think of the Get Back documentary?
You know what? It's funny to watch it. Did
you watch the whole thing?
I watched the whole thing. I was working this weekend. I had it on the background. So I was thinking that You know, it wasn't released till now, and I think the reason that I thought that why 1969 when it was recorded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they take for it because you just see how just normal the Beatles are, how annoying they can be, how just like I was in a band for like 5 years with one band or 4 years, and I'm not saying I'm the Beatles at all, but exactly what they did, jamming out and just recording and all that is exactly what we used to do. Every band does. So you just see how normal they are. And just, I think Bill Simmons was talking about how annoying Paul McCartney and John Lennon might be acting in front of the camera. It's like, no, that's exactly what we would do in practice. You would jamming out, you'd be one-on-one with somebody. Some guy might be hurt, like George Harrison. Is that his name? Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, no, it's George Harrison.
Yeah, George Harrison might get his feelings hurt and not think he's capable. So that all that stuff happens with like every band. It just shows how like humanized they are, and you just don't want to see that. I think that would have ruined a lot of what I want to hear what your take is, but I think that would have ruined a lot of like how people think they're like gods and all this and that. Like nothing can go wrong with these guys. But then you just see how normal they are. And Yoko Ono, my whole life, the media says it's her fault that the Beatles break up. But you see it, I don't even know if it's a smidge of the reason, because she just sits there and hangs out with John Lennon the whole time. So it's like we're fed this whole thing, this whole lie my whole life that Yoko was an evil person. And I just didn't see that as a case.
Well, I'll tell you this: what's evil is the way she sings. It's Yoko Ono is not good singing. She's I mean, it's the worst shit ever. And so I am a massive Beatles fan, like big time. In your life, I might be the biggest Beatle fan and that could be said about a lot of people that I know. Just I love the Beatles, so obviously when I heard this was coming out, I went apeshit. I was watching it on plane rides and all kinds of stuff. And I forgot that you were in a band. So yeah, you would definitely see this through the eyes of somebody who was actually a musician, which is one thing I lack talent completely. I cannot play shit. So you can you fucking rock. And I think that that's an interesting point of view you have. For me, I loved it because it humanized the Beatles. Because I know that there was so much, there's such a mystique and aura around the Beatles, especially when you talk about the breakup. Because a lot of the footage that was taken from this original these revisional recording sessions became a film called Let It Be. And it was kind of like after the Beatles broke up, they put this out and they edited it in a way where it looked like the Beatles hated each other. And, you go back and you watch this and you see some of those familiar scenes. And then, you kind of back up and you see the context in which they occurred. And it's like they didn't hate each other at all. These are, just a bunch of different personalities who've been together a lot, who produced some of the most amazing music ever, revolutionary. And there was a lot of drugs involved. I mean, they didn't show John Lennon shooting heroin or smoking weed the whole time, but he was talking about it because he did it, So, you put all those things together and, the financial side of it and all of these different, all these different X factors ultimately led to the breakup of the Beatles. But what I loved was just seeing the constant creativity and how Paul McCartney's just sitting there. He's just kind of, they're waiting for Len to show up. So he's just kind of like riffing on the guitar a little bit. And all of a sudden that's where Get Back comes from. And you're seeing Let It Be created. And you're seeing a bunch of these songs that ended up on Abbey Road, which is actually released before the Let It Be album, how a lot of them kind of came to life there. And I love creativity and seeing that from a band that I revere so much. And I love their catalog so much. Obviously it was a great piece of content. It's a marathon to anybody who hasn't watched it. It's like 8 hours long. It's on Disney Plus. But it was absolutely fantastic. And Coach AJM says the Red Hot Chili Peppers are better. And you know what? You might be right. But you know what? There'd be no Red Hot Chili Peppers if it isn't for the Beatles, and that's what makes the Beatles so.
Or Rick Rubin too. And
Rick Rubin, yeah, dude, Rick Rubin's a beast.
Yeah, he knew how to make those. I would think the Beatles
Nirvana in 4.
Nirvana, yeah. Dude,
I love Nirvana too, man. And there'd be no Nirvana without the Beatles. I mean, all Kurt Cobain did was rip off like the basic chords that the Beatles did. Anyways, sorry.
No, it's okay. It was funny seeing the practices. It just was really just a trip. Like when the Let It Be, the recording, you just see Ringo in the back, like raising his sticks, like, oh my God, this is like the 100th time we did this. Like, what? Like they all just make fun of the song as Paul McCartney's doing it for real.
Yes.
The stuff you hear and you're just like crying, like, oh, let it be. It's like Ringo's like, oh, let it be. They're just like mimicking it. Like that's the way it is.
John Lennon's like mouthing it.
You're just so sick of playing it. You're making fun of everything. You're not sick of each other too much, but you get, and I know they got sick of just being in the band. They still loved each other. It seemed like they the Beatles thing, it's just they were done with it. Except for, you can tell Paul McCartney wanted to keep it going. He just
Of
had all these
course.
ideas. He's like, I just want to do this. And then, the other guy's like, no, there's more to life. I would rather just be doing other things than
Exactly.
doing this.
Yeah,
So,
McCartney always had to prove himself over and over again, whereas Lennon, he was just happy being happy. You know why? That's because he's a Libra. So on that note, you know what? I don't get tired of doing this podcast. I was happy to do this one. This is the best band I've ever been in, Matthew. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
Who's Lennon and who's McCartney here?
I'll be Lennon. I can do the heroin.
Okay, I'll be McCartney. I'll be always trying to prove myself.
Yeah, you're McCartney. It's like we go to the hotel to record and stuff. They're like waiting outside. They're like, I just want to see John. I want to see John Voida. I don't care about Matthew Lissy.
They're like, but Matthew
keep up
Lissy. I want to see Matthew Lissy. He's got a lot of funny takes he does, isn't it? All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone on too long, and we thank you for hanging out with us a little extra on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Your team is now 20 wins and 4 losses. Just say that out loud. 24 games into the season. We're a third of the way through this bitch, and we're looking pretty darn good. So this is a reminder. Make sure you follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the social media outlets. You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew.
At Matthew Lissy.
And we'll see you on Friday night when the Suns play the Boston Celtics. Indeed.
Home and love your family.
Hey, Jude. Oh, wait, that wasn't on the Let It Be album. Oops.